Hi, welcome to today's session. I'm delighted to be here today to talk about new and coming COVID-related scams. And I'm even more delighted to be here today with Joe Patterson, who is a cybercrime advisor responsible for delivering the Warwickshire Cybercrime Action Plan, including cybersafewarwickshire.com, which is a fantastic platform with tips on cyber awareness. And also Joe delivers workshops around the county here in the UK, including one I had the pleasure to host early in the year in IBM Warwick, all about cyber awareness. So welcome, Joe. And before we start, I wanted to give some context to the challenge we are facing. So, I mean, we know that 2020 has been a very unique year. We know with a global pandemic that has affected every aspect of our lives. But for scammers actually who love capitalizing on chaos, COVID-19 has represented a great business opportunity. We've seen an exponential increase in attacks, especially in phishing emails and smishing, SMS attacks. And also we've seen WhatsApp being used as a vehicle for scams as well. We've seen scammers using every opportunity from selling PPE to at the beginning of the pandemic, to selling treatments, vaccinations, and obviously now with the successful trials with the vaccinations, this is becoming emerging again. So, you know, trying to trick individuals with all these hooks. And also scammers we've seen using government schemes like the furlough scheme here in the UK. So, you know, very different angles to kind of the pandemic, but, you know, every opportunity for scammers to try to trick individuals. So with that introduction, I'm going to hand it over to Joe. So Joe is going to go into a bit of more detail and examples on how to spot these scams and what to do and how to report them. So Joe, over to you.
Perfect, thank you very much. So as I was introduced, I'm a cybercrime advisor funded by the Warwickshire Police Crime Commissioner, and I'm just going to start off by really opening up as to what a cybercrime actually is. So Warwickshire Police define it as when an offence is committed in full or in part via a computer network or other computer-enabled device. So that really just gives you a flavour of what a definition of cybercrime actually is and what we're going to be discussing, and particular cybercrimes we're going to be discussing. Next slide. So some types of cybercrime. So you'll see here a list of a whole host of cybercrimes. You've got phishing scams, which we'll be talking about in a bit more detail today. Viruses and malware as well, which we'll also be discussing. You've got identity theft, hacking, and then on the right-hand side, you've got cyberbullying, online hate crime, cyber stalking there. But as you can see, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like with crime in general, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Fraudsters are developing and they find a way to actually defraud people of their money and personal information, and harvest their personal information as well through new and unique ways, which we'll go through in a bit more detail. This will focus on phishing emails, viruses and malware as well, and more around smishing in particular around the COVID-19 pandemic, and how fraudsters are actually using that to get people's personal information and get people's money as well. Next slide, please. So really what a phishing scam is an attempt to get money or personal information through email. And it's the same with smishing as well, which we'll go into a little bit later on. It's SMS smishing, so it's through text messages. And next slide, please. So some COVID-19 related phishing scams here. The one on the left is a financial support scam, which would have been seen sort of and will continue to be seen due to the tier system that is now being put in place in the next week or so. It's a financial support scam here, and it says, as a precaution measure against COVID-19, in cooperation with National Insurance and National Health Services, the government has established a new tax refund program for dealing with the coronavirus outbreak in its action plan. You are eligible for to get a tax refund of £128.34, and it's actually getting you to click a link there. And it may well be that you receive this. It's got an authentic looking banner, which we can see there. It's got Gov UK Notify on there as well. If you were passing over this, you may well think, or you didn't know the signs of how to spot a phishing email, you may well see this as legitimate because it's actually used the authentic looking banners, etc. But it's one to be aware of, that these phishing emails and the fraudsters that are producing these will actually continue to use authentic looking branding on the emails. This could be for when you're shopping, it could be for any aspect in terms of what you receive into your email inbox. And it's actually getting you to click a link through there. What we always suggest is to just hover over that link if you suspect that it is fraudulent, and actually you will see a little box come up and it will just tell you as to where it's going to take you if you were to click that link without actually clicking it. But we always suggest, if you are suspicious of it in any way and believe that it is fraudulent and it's from, say, someone that you've shopped with in the past, or it's to do with a particular product or anything like that, is to go through Google and actually log into the account through there. And if there are any issues, it'll be notified on there. And then the one in the middle is a cure solution on coronavirus, and it's just getting you to click for coronavirus cure review. And then the one on the right hand side is asking for donations in the form of Bitcoin via the sort of link there, and also via the code there. So actually asking for support during the coronavirus pandemic and getting you to donate in Bitcoin. Next slide, please. So really, it wouldn't be great of me to actually discuss various phishing emails and things like that and give you some examples without actually discussing the warning signs and the preventative measures that you can put in place to actually prevent yourself from falling victim to a quite sophisticated phishing scam. So if the offer seems too good to be true, then it probably is. You've most likely heard that quite a lot, but it's the same rule applies with phishing emails. Spelling mistakes throughout the email or in the subject line. There is a sense of urgency to respond to the email request. The links do not go to the place where you would expect them to. And the sender's address is not a genuine email. So one to really highlight with this is that if you scan over your emails, or you receive a mass amount of emails at any one time, or in a day particularly, and you scan over them, fraudsters will actually just change one letter in that sender's address. And if you do look over them quickly, you may well not notice that it is a fraudulent email. There may well not be spelling mistakes and things like that. So it's just one to be aware of. And then being aware for calls and texts too. And one thing in particular that the National Cybersecurity Centre have created, they created a suspicious email reporting service to reduce online harm as people are staying at home and being online more often. So if you have received suspicious emails, simply just forward it to the address there. So report@phishing.gov.uk, where the NCSC have then been successfully taking down fraudulent sites and blocking scam email addresses as well. Next slide, please. So really here, an example of a warning message that you may well see on a particular device if you have clicked a link in an email and downloaded a virus or malware, really with that sense of urgency that all your personal information, personal photos, things like that that are on that device will be destroyed in 72 hours. And asking for zero point 0.5 bitcoins in return for getting those personal files back. The suggestion is to never pay the ransom fee. This is because actually fraudsters could then further target from there and get you to click another link and request more money and bitcoins, and actually get that money from yourself in terms of getting those personal information and that personal files on that particular device. So we always suggest to not actually pay the ransom fee. In order to get a virus or malware off your computer or device, some require an IT specialist. Always keep antivirus up to date and have antivirus on your computer as well. It's about doing backups as well for that instance, so actually regularly backing up your data, so that if this, in the unfortunate case that this was to happen, you've got those regular backups where you can actually restore the computer back to its original state, but doing that on a regular basis so that you don't actually lose too much information and all your personal files. The next slide, please. So here's an example of a COVID-19 related phishing scam that actually contains malware on it. So this in particular is a coronavirus safety measures document. And if you were to download this or click on this attachment, you can see that they've used the World Health Organization logo there. So again, about making sure that it's authentic, and fraudsters are actually using authentic looking logos and banners. If you were to actually download and click this attachment, you potentially, or you do with this one, a keylogger is downloaded. And what a keylogger is something that will track your every it'll track your every key typing. When you're typing on your keyboard, it will actually type every single thing that you're inputting into that. So passwords, banking details, etc., important documents. So it'll actually take that and feed those back to the criminal in that sense. And then you've got the potential loss of banking details and personal information, as well as passwords for important logins for social media, etc., etc. Next slide, please. So moving on into smishing, and as I sort of mentioned earlier on, it's very similar to phishing in that sense. It's just via text message and SMS. So these ones in particular are stating that they're from the government and they've issued a payment of £458 to all residents as part of its promise to battle COVID-19. And you've got the link there. If you were to click on that link, you're then presented with a website which looks very similar to the government website. It's got the banner on there as well. It's got the logo, and it's asking you to input your postcode, so a personal piece of data to yourself. From there, it's harvesting your details. It's taking them and actually harvesting that particular piece of information. These are ones that have been quite significant and ones to watch out for. Again, using the padlock as well there. One that we always suggest to look out for on websites is to always look for the HTTPS and the padlock. And this particular website does have the padlock, but it is not the authentic government website. But it just goes to show that fraudsters will be using those particular things to actually try and make you think that it's a legitimate looking website, but in fact it's about knowing those small discrepancies and knowing that it's not the authentic government website via the link on there. And also again with the text message, about noticing those signs to know that it's not the authentic website. And then one on the right hand side are fraudulent text messages, again around when we first went into lockdown. You've got that you've been recorded 3 occasions yesterday, and a fine of £35 has been added to your Gov.uk account. This one is fraudulent, and it's about making you think that, oh, have I, and all that kind of stuff. So actually not clicking the link, being aware that these are fraudulent emails when coming from particular numbers such as this, and also looking at the wording with it as well. Next slide, please. So these are some authentic government messages that you would have received. In particular, they're all the same with different service providers you're on, so there's no difference in any of them. If there is any difference in any of them to family and friends to the one that you've received, then these are fraudulent. These are the authentic government text messages that you would have received a while back when we were first in lockdown. So that is an authentic government authentic government text message there. Next slide, please. So this particular scam is where fraudsters are actually claiming to be from the NHS Test and Trace team, calling up individuals and asking for personal details, asking for banking details as well. So it's about being aware that, again, very similar with phone scams, is that banking details will never be asked for. In terms of payment for the test, this will not be requested, this will not be asked. Never ask you to dial a premium number, and again, never ask you for any banking details, and never ask you for a test, payment for the test in that sense. Next slide, please. And then really to sort of round off the presentation in terms of COVID-19 threats, in particular scams, there's an emerging threat currently around vaccine fraud. So the NCA actually said that while in the early stages of the pandemic, saw criminal groups use personal protective equipment, so PPE scams, to target businesses, and vaccine fraud, with the discussion around the vaccine and the news that the vaccine's coming out and when those will be rolled out. The likelihood that there will be individuals and people offering fake vaccines is quite high. So it's one to be aware of in that particular instance, and it's one to really sort of push forward and make sure that you're aware of in that sense. Next slide, please. And then to finish off the presentation, there are some top tips. So we've discussed around being aware of links and attachments in emails. Using strong and unique passwords are key. It wouldn't be a cyber safety presentation if I didn't discuss passwords being important and vital to the security of accounts. Always check for the HTTPS. So you've got secure, and you've also got the padlock there as well. Background checks, antivirus protection, so about using antivirus protection and ensuring that that is up to date. Next slide, please. So really, it's about being safe on all devices. Update on those devices, and also the antivirus software as well. Public Wi-Fi safety, so ensuring that you're safe when using public Wi-Fi. We always suggest to not use public Wi-Fi, particularly when banking and also shopping as well. And then using multi-factor authentication on as many accounts as you can. This will just send and add a layer of extra security when actually logging into accounts. And then where to report. So we'll go through a few instances on where you can actually report. So reporting cybercrime. So you can get in contact with Action Fraud to report cyber scams and fraud. Reporting a scam or rogue trader to Trading Standards via Citizens Advice Consumer Service on 034, so via the number there. And then, as mentioned earlier, around that, report at phishing.gov.uk. So if you did suspect that you had received a fraudulent email, then actually you can input and send it directly to that email address there. And then you can report to the site itself. And then for cases where the victim has been threatened with physical harm, it is particularly important to report to the police. So on 101, and in an emergency, always call 999. Next slide, please. So we've discussed a lot today about financial loss for a scam. We've also discussed around personal details being lost as well, but really around that psychological and emotional impact that it can have on an individual. So really a good organisation that support with that is Victim Support, and they can offer services and provide support around psychological and emotional support for an individual who's been victim of a crime. Next slide, please. And then for any further information, as mentioned earlier, we've got cybersafewarwickshire.com. So that's where myself and my colleague Abby put up articles and awareness raising really for cybersecurity and how to stay safe online, and general news articles around that. And then we have warwickshirebusinesswatch.co.uk as well. So within the team, we also have a business crime advisor who supports businesses as well as with the aspect of cyber. And then we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. So thank you for listening to me for the best part of 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and I will now hand back over to Marie.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing all these very useful tips and insights about what you are saying from a COVID-19 related scams. And thank you for doing a great job, even with the dog in the background. So thank you so much. So in the last 2 minutes, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. First of all, is about IBM security, just to give you a bit of a background to what we do. So IBM Security, we are the largest cybersecurity vendor on the planet. We have 8,000 employees around the world. And we really focus on helping organizations solve the hardest cybersecurity challenges. We have a strong portfolio of technology, but also services. And we've been recognized leader in 14 security segments. As I said, our portfolio is very strong, but also because we've been acquiring more than 20 companies in the last years. And we have a special team called IBM X-Force who monitor 70 billion security events per day. So this is what we do in our day-to-day. But on top of that, I wanted to share with you as well our commitment to education and skills. So we have a number of cybersecurity programs that focus from cyber awareness with the little ones, early years, but also to build the skills of young adults and adults to really address the biggest skills gap that cybersecurity is suffering as an industry. We don't have enough cybersecurity professionals in the industry. So I wanted to very briefly touch about some of these programs. So starting on the left-hand side, so we have ibm.org, where you can find school kits, cybersecurity kits for school children to talk about cyber awareness, digital identity, etc. Then we have PTech and OpenTech, which is a program aimed for college students. And OpenPTech is a free open digital platform that includes cybersecurity courses, and that they are industry recognized. They have industry recognized badges. So the college students who take them, they get those badges when they completed them. And this is a way of building those skills, as we were saying, that the industry needs so much. We are very proud to be a partner of CyberFirst. So CyberFirst is the National Cybersecurity Center program that aims to identify and develop future cybersecurity professionals for the UK. And IBM has been the largest, has provided the largest number of undergraduate placements in the industry since 2018. And we very proudly have received from the NCSC 2 years in a row, the Industry Champion Award. We also have Skills Build, which is another online global learning platform where we partner with non-for-profit organizations to reskill individuals into cybersecurity. So in the UK, we work with Salute My Job to retrain veterans into cybersecurity so they can become cybersecurity professionals. And finally, we have a skills building night where we are now offering, again, for free in this global digital platform for all adults, job seekers, small business owners, entrepreneurs, cybersecurity education as well. So this is just a snapshot of some of the things that we are doing. We are very proud of that. So I wanted to use this to close the session. I do hope you enjoyed the session, and if you did, please share it with your friends, your colleagues, your family. You know, we need to share it with the schools, with your local community, because this is the only way, by making people aware of all these COVID-related scams. This is going to be the only way of stopping the scammers winning this race. So I hope you enjoy it, and bye for now, and thank you very much.